I'm back with the 4th chapter of Blue Moose, written and illustrated by Manus Pinkwater. This chapter is called Hums of a Moose. One day, after the moose had been staying with Mr. Breton for a fairly long time, there was an especially heavy snowfall. The snow got to be as high as the house, and there was no way for people to come from the town. And this is how much snow fell. Mr. Breton got a big fire going in the stove and kept adding pieces of wood until the stove was glowing red. The house was warm and filled with the smell of applesauce, which Mr. Breton was cooking in big pots on the stove. Mr. Breton was peeling apples, and the moose was sitting on the floor, lapping every now and then at a big chowder bowl full of coffee on the kitchen table. The moose didn't say anything. Mr. Breton didn't say anything. Now and then the moose would take a deep breath with his nose in the air, sniffing in the smell of apples and cinnamon and raisins cooking. Then he would sigh. The sighs got louder and longer. Here they are in the kitchen. The moose began to hum, softly, then louder. The humming made the table shake, and Mr. Breton felt the humming in his fingers each time he picked up an apple. The humming mixed with the apple and cinnamon smell and melted the frost on the windows, and the room filled with sunlight. Mr. Breton smelled flowers. Then he could see them. The kitchen floor had turned into a meadow with new grass, dandelions, periwinkles, and daisies. The moose hummed. Mr. Breton smelled melting snow. He heard ice cracking. He felt the ground shake under the hoofs of moose returning from the low, wet places. Rabbits bounded through the fields. Bears, thin after the winter's sleep, came out of hiding. Birds sang. The people in the town could not remember such an unseasonable thaw. The weather got warm all of a sudden, and the ice and snow melted for 4 days before winter set in again. When they went to Mr. Breton's restaurant, they discovered that he had made a wonderful stew with lots of carrots that reminded them of meadows in springtime. And here's a picture of the spring thaw. And that's the end of the 4th chapter of our book. I'll see you around the bend for the last chapter.